This episode of the Managing Madrid Podcast is brought to you by the Managing Madrid Podcast live in Toronto. We are doing a show, Flatiron Firkin Pub in Toronto, in person with all of our listeners and fans, and it's going to be a huge Madridista party. Come meet other Madridistas if you're in Ontario, if you're in Canada. Book your spot. Link is in the show notes. That's happening on December 18th at 4 p.m., a few hours after the World Cup final. So book your spot to that show. The link is in the show notes, and do it before December 1st because prices go up. So do that ASAP. And coming up is a review of the performances of Vinicius and Rodrygo against Serbia. And obviously, naturally, that takes us into a lot of discussion about Brazil as a whole, their tactics, the fit of the Real Madrid players. Casemiro yesterday, even though he's not with us anymore, it was great to see him put in a good shift. And also Militao, and how does he fit into this? And might he play right back with the injury to Danilo? All that coming up. Also, keep it locked on the website. I have a huge cruise column that dropped that I've been working on, which I bring in a lot of video and film and data and just bring the case that this might be his best season ever, even though he's had such an amazing career. I make the case. You can go read it. That's on the website. And also, every single podcast you hear, there's almost a written version of it on the website. So we cover all of Real Madrid's players during the World Cup in written and podcast form. So make sure you go to managingmadrid.com. And what else? Really quickly, if you want discussion on Fede yesterday, that happened over on patreon.com/managingmadrid. If you want access to that, Lucas and I also answered some questions over there. That's exclusive content. And if you join Patreon, you also get access to a Discord server where we have a higher level of tactical dialogue and whatnot. So come in and join the Real Madrid family, the army that's growing over on patreon.com/managingmadrid, and enjoy today's podcast and the return of Matt Wiltse. And let's get started with Derek Ray and Ray Hudson.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
All right, it is Friday night, just after 4 p.m. Eastern. England versus USA has concluded, and I don't know what to tell you. I'm just really excited and happy because after what seems like months, Matt Wiltse has returned. And I kind of felt bad, but I kind of didn't because I missed him. But I dragged him on. I said, Matt, you got to get on the podcast, man. I know you're a dad now, but come on, just give us like 20 minutes here. So Matt is here. He's relieved himself of dad duties for about 20 minutes, and God bless your wife who and congratulations to both of you for Wesley Wiltse. Wesley James Wiltse? Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, thank you. And it's nice. It feels good. It feels good to get back into the swing of things. Obviously it's been, like you said, a couple months, so it's good, and I'm enjoying this World Cup. Kiyan, I got to tell you, the team that's impressed me the most so far has been Canada. Like
yes.
that game was so fun, and Canada they were brilliant. So unlucky not to win that game.
My hope is that they got some of the jitters out in the first game, and then they can actually finish their chances against Croatia. Yeah. We'll see where that goes. England USA was a background game for me. I was just kind of cooking and spending time with my kids. Anything I need to know about that game?
Good result for the U.S. We'll take it. I actually think we had the better of the chances. And I mean, it was kind of neck and neck competitive match. And that's what you look for with this U.S. team. I think now they just got to get the job done against Iran, which I know is another important game for you. So,
I mean, Iran played really well this morning against Wales. Now, Wales is brutal, quite frankly. They're really, really just not a good team. And whatever. So the U.S. will obviously a bigger test, but it's on the table, man. Iran second in the group, right?
Yep.
All they need is a draw against the U.S., a team that they obviously famously beat in 1998. And they have a good team on paper. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about Vinicius and Rodrigo and maybe some Militao. And I guess like where his place is in this Brazil team moving forward or whatever. But yeah, I said this on the Managing Madrid Twitter account, did the rounds. Feels like the World Cup doesn't truly start until Brazil arrive and they start dancing and they start like it was so nice to see it. Like whether I'm not a Brazil fan, but it was just kind of nice. Like it felt right. It felt like, oh, okay, cool. This is a World Cup now. It was really fun to just have their presence on the stage yesterday. So what were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I mean, it feels like Brazil is always kind of a marker, whether you like them or not. They're always one of the teams everybody looks forward to seeing, and just seeing them start the tournament. And given how well they've done in qualifying and their unbeaten streak, like this is a team to look out for. Honestly, I think they're the one I have winning. So we'll see if they can keep this going. But yeah, I mean, this was a good game. This was one I was most looking forward to, just because Serbia, they've got some good players.
They do.
And they've got a solid team, and interesting to see kind of that the Serbian playing style come up against Brazil. And I was interested to see kind of that dynamic. And sure enough, there was some rumors whether or not Vinicius would start or whether he'd be on the bench, and kind of the idea was that Militao and Rodrigo definitely would be on the bench. But Vinicius did start, and thank God he did. He was probably one of Brazil's best players, instrumental in both goals. I didn't think it was like a lights out performance, but I thought he was really solid, and I thought he played with that intent that we've seen him play with so much at Real Madrid, where even if he makes mistakes, even if he slips, even if he misses a shot on goal, he just keeps going. He keeps going, and he was relentless. And I think that's a part of him that Brazil needs, and that they're going to really enjoy in this World Cup.
Yeah, and I mean, like, expecting a lights out performance, I think, would also be unfair anyway. Making a World Cup debut with all the adrenaline, all the fans there, all the expectations, people are doubting whether you should be starting or not. And by people, I mean the reports that TT was kind of wary of starting him and Neymar together for regards to balance purposes. Defensive balance, although we've seen those two play well in qualifying together, with Neymar just ahead in central position and Vinicius on the left. It's worked. So I'm glad he got the nod. I think it made sense. And given the fact that he played really good, I thought it was vindication. What did you like about his performance specifically? I'm curious, like, if you could just break it down in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I think so. I'm always interested, especially when Brazil rolls out kind of Neymar in a traditional almost number 10 role, flanked by Rafinha and Vinicius Jr. I'm always interested to see that connection between Neymar and Vinicius Jr. because I think one thing Neymar does really well, and maybe doesn't get a lot of credit for, it's his vision and his ability to play kind of those defense splitting balls and balls over the top. And in previous matches I've watched of Brazil, even in qualifying, those two had a really good dynamic, and Neymar was able to find him. And so that's what I was looking out for most in this match. I felt like it took Brazil a little while to get going. Serbia were tough nut to crack, had some good defensive shape in the first 30 minutes or so, and Brazil was struggling to find those combinations. But then I think it got better and better. Obviously, the first goal comes from a little bit of play, and I wouldn't necessarily call this like a combination between Neymar and Vinicius, but Neymar bamboozles a couple defenders in the box, dribbles past them, and then almost runs into Vinny, and Vinny just says, you know what, I'm taking a shot here. It's perfect angle. Takes the shot. Thought it was going in. Goalkeeper parries it, and then Richarlison is there to nab the first one. And so I think Vinny did what he does best. Like, he stayed wide. He as soon as he got the ball in transition, he was running at his fullback, constantly looking to get isolated 1v1, take advantage of those opportunities, cut in, get a shot off. So all the things we know traditionally of what Vinny does well, he did that for Brazil. And I think even the defensive side of the ball, like, you saw him come back and make a couple really good tackles. And we know that's what Vinny can do. And that's why I was surprised at seeing, like, even because with the reports that were coming out, it was that, Chiche wants to go like a little bit more conservative. Well, I don't think Vinny really debilitates you that much defensively, just because he does so much work. And like,
Yep.
so it was good. It was good to see that, and I think he will. I got a feeling he's going to continue to grow into this World Cup and continue to like build momentum.
I mean, the idea of defensive balance, like when you're this good offensively, it definitely is justifiable for you to just basically take a machine gun to your opponents and just bombard them with shots and dribbles and attacks. I mean, this was totally justifiable that they went that route, because when you have this much talent, if you look at the numbers, they're overwhelming in Brazil's favor. The field tilt, the penetrations into the box, the shots, the XG, everything they were doing, they were just, they were basically knocking on the door, and once they knocked it down, it was just a complete, they tore down the barricade. And it's interesting you talk about Neymar and stuff, and also the defensive work that Vinicius did. What's interesting is that I personally think, watching what I saw yesterday, although like we now know Neymar's injured, he's not going to play the rest of the group stage, unfortunately. But when I saw them play together yesterday, not only was I like, well, forget defensive balance, I'm like, these guys are meant to play together. There is a little bit of Benzema Vinicius connection in those two, because Neymar, like Benzema, can drop deep and do link-up play and combine with Vinicius. And if you look at Neymar's heat map, he's basically almost behind Vinicius in the central zone rather than attacking the box. You know, he's complementing Vinicius. I think they complement each other. I think if you had only one of them, it might make their lives more difficult with the way Brazil play. And I thought it made sense to have those two together. I also like the fact that this wasn't reliant on Vinicius either. While Vinicius had a good game, Rafinha was threatening on the other side. Richarlison was a good presence in the box. And then all of a sudden you see like the changes being made. I'm like seeing all these changes. I'm like, all right, my God, there's not a single bad player coming on. It's like Gabriel Jesus comes in like at this point, and then you have Rodrygo coming in. I lost track who else came in. I think Anthony came in, Martinelli. Like, it was like, oh my God, these guys are so deep. It's just nonstop. So I think they'll be fine without Neymar in these last two games in the group stages. Now, I think the bigger question, Matt, is like, what happens against a team who might be able to punish them on the wing, even provided Vinicius does defend? A lot's going to be on Alexandro's shoulders if you start to face like, I don't know, France, someone who can just blaze down the right wing, for example.
Yeah, that's my one concern with this Brazil squad is the fullbacks. That's been my one concern. Yeah. And now obviously Danilo's gone down, and
that's right.
We may see Eder Militao end up playing right back, and so we've seen that experiment before. We've seen it with Brazil a couple times. You know what you're going to get from Eder Militao in that position. He'll be solid defensively, but you're not going to get a lot of production offensively. And so if they do opt for Militao in that position, I'm curious to see what they do with the Neymar spot. Do they give it to someone like Rodrigo, or do they look to secure midfield a little bit more and put Fred in there or somebody like that? So I'm curious to see what Brazil ultimately decide to do, but we could see actually all three of our Madrid players starting now due to these injuries. I mean, it is theoretically possible now. And I do want to shout out Casemiro as well, because I thought he was just a monster. He was a monster again.
I was about to bring him up too. Like, it could have been 4 if we had Casemiro. It's like, I watched that game. I was in awe. I was just like, oh man, for me, it's also the experience and the leadership in a game like this. Yeah. His long-range passing was on point. His ball-winning midfield was on point. I mean, he was fantastic. I mean, the way Brazil play, I think he's perfect. He's awesome.
Yeah, he was instrumental. Like you said, that one shot where he just like casually outside the box curls it off the crossbar. We know Casemiro takes those long shots, and we know that it's a 50-50 chance of what it's going to be. But that opportunity was a nice one. And even like kind of shifting gears to Rodrigo's performance, like I really, really liked Rodrigo. I thought he came in and just made immediate impact, like no real drop off from Vinicius. And you could see that I felt like Rodrigo was really hungry for that World Cup goal. He wanted that World Cup goal. And he has that one opportunity from outside the box, kind of vintage FIFA curled shot where you in swinger, whip it in, and it just missed the upper 90. Just missed the upper 90, and thought he was really solid. Obviously, he played on the left, not centrally or not on the right. He was on the left, just a direct replacement for Vinicius Jr. But I think Chiche likes him, so there could be a possibility that he starts in that number 10 role.
You know what's crazy is that he comes in off the bench in the 75th minute. It was for Vinicius, right?
Yeah, directly for Vinicius.
So in the remaining 25 minutes, he had 24 touches. Richarlison had 25 touches in his entire thing, in an entire performance in the 78th minute. Vinicius had about 43, and Rafinha had 52. Basically, and obviously the game state has something to do with this, right? He comes in when Serbia are chasing the game. There's more space, more touches from him, whatever. But he was very involved and active, is my point, when he came off the bench. Like, he wasn't shy, or he wasn't a ghost. He had 2 shots when he came in, completed all of his passes, and he looked sharp. And if he scores that shot, places Real Madrid Twitter is coming down, so is Brazil Twitter. But also, to circle back to Vinicius, he nearly scored on a couple of occasions. The one that obviously led to the first goal, and then there was a couple other moments where I thought he just got some bad luck. One touch where he tried to round the keeper, and then there was another one where Neymar and him were on a 2-on-1 transition or something. Maybe it was 2-on-2. Neymar loses it, and then Vinicius sprints back, wins it, and then goes forward and then just slips. And it's just a little bit unfortunate. Yeah. But he almost, he almost scored. And I had him as like a fringe possible Golden Boot winner, because you and I both feel Brazil can go all the way here. And if they do, someone's going to be scoring the goals. And I thought Vinicius could be a fringe candidate. Obviously, Richarlison had 2 amazing goals. So maybe he's a candidate as well, but we'll see.
Richarlison, I was skeptical of him, especially because I'd never really viewed him as a striker. So I was skeptical of that. But he the second goal was absolutely ridiculous. Like, Vinicius Jr. outside the boot assist. So I don't think we even called that out yet, but it was Vinny with the outside the boot assist, harnessing his inner Modric. And then the ridiculous one touch to set himself up, second touch, scissor kick, goal. And I just wasn't expecting this from Richarlison. I thought Gabriel Jesus should have started, but I was wrong on that.
Yeah. The other thing is, I can't believe it took us this amount of time to bring up the assist. That assist, and plus another pass he had earlier, was classic, something he's really, really good at with Real Madrid. Cuts inside from the left wing and doesn't rush the pass, doesn't swing across in blindly, stays composed, takes a touch, looks up, and cuts it back calmly to someone. And he's done that so many times for Benzema. He did it for Richarlison yesterday. And I'm going to just count the first one as an assist, even though it wasn't. It was just a shot and the rebound. But yeah, the fact that he was involved in both goals is a great sign, really great sign.
So what are your expectations for Brazil the rest of the group, even with Neymar and Danilo
out? What's their second game? Do we know? I'll just look it up really quick. Switzerland and then Cameroon. I feel like maybe Switzerland it'll be kind of more of the same. They'll just try to hold on for dear life, and they're less talented than Serbia. Sorry to any Swiss fans listening to this. And then by the time the Cameroon game rolls around, it may not matter for them what happens. So there's variables in that game, like rotations possibly, and Cameroon maybe playing for their lives. Who knows?
I think they should be comfortably finished first, but maybe, who knows? You've seen so many weird results in this World Cup. Like, there could be Switzerland. They're not as talented, but they do have the experience. So they have some experience in former international tournaments, older players. So maybe they can pull something off.
Let's take the next 2 minutes, because I haven't spoken to you about the World Cup at all. You don't have to keep it Real Madrid related, although you can if you want. What are your top 3 coolest things that you've seen so far, or coolest wrinkles, whatever?
So like I said at the top, like I'm really impressed with Canada. I love their high octane football. I love the way that they just go for it. Obviously need to improve their shooting, but otherwise that final product, but otherwise just such a fun team. Spain, I obviously huge win over Costa Rica. My concern is like, you always see teams peak too early in the World Cup. Are they going to be one of those teams that maybe peak too early? And then what are some of these bigger takeaways thus far? The Netherlands, I was disappointed with their result today, but for some reason I got a feeling that like Van Gaal will do what Van Gaal does in the World Cup, and they'll somehow make it to like maybe the quarterfinals or so, just tactically do really well and get enough out of that talent that they have.
I think they had, I mean, that was today was kind of background game day. I didn't analyze it, but I saw a stat that it was statistically one of the worst offensive performances in the World Cup history from a team from Europe.
Oh wow, really?
In terms of like, I think they had like, I'll actually look up the numbers in a sec. I want to get it right, but they basically created nothing, right?
Yeah, I mean the Gakpo goal was kind of a long distance, just pure individual brilliance, and then other than that, yeah, nothing really.
Here it is. Their XG was 0.18, so they're kind of tells you something.
Yeah.
It was,
yeah, I think Uruguay has been a little bit underwhelming. I'm kind of underwhelmed by that team. I think Fede's the only thing they got going for them. And France looked way better than I expected them to. They looked way better. I was worried about that midfield, but they looked really good. So we'll see. I think actually the Lucas Hernandez, you never wish an injury, but the Lucas Hernandez injury might actually be a blessing in disguise because Teo just added a whole new dimension to that left side with Mbappe.
Yeah, totally changed everything. Yeah, I agree with that assessment. I mean, I'll give like my quick, I guess, elevator pitch summary of the Real Madrid players so far, in case some people have not gone and listened to all the podcasts we've done. We've done this daily now, but I thought Tchouaméni looked really good. France looked amazing. Modric was fine, but that Croatia team is just not the same as 2018. It's labored for them. They're older. They can't create in transition like they used to. Germany, really, really unbelievably underwhelming second half by them. They got to just wake up, fix their high line and their defense against Spain and hope for the best. Rodrygo was fine. He only made a couple mistakes at the very end, but I thought he was really good other than that. And Belgium, Courtois broke my heart. Hazard was okay. And then what else do we have? I don't know. Oh, yeah, Uruguay, same takeaway as you. Underwhelming with all the names they have on paper. Fede was really good. I think they're misusing him. People have already heard me speak about that, and we just talked about Vinicius, Rodrigo, and co. So I think that covers all of them. I think, yeah. So we're gonna get you on for the next Brazil game. You think?
Yeah, let's try it. We'll go for it.
Matt Wiltse putting his commitment in right now publicly that he is going to be on the Brazil post-game show. Also, go and read Matt's summary. It's on the website. Every single player we're also covering in written form. You guys can go and read the analysis on those players as well on the website. Matt, this was fun, man. It's great to have you back. Yeah, enjoy fatherhood, and I hope you get some rest, and congrats again. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks. Yep. Take care.
Thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Before we let you go, we wanted to give a shout out to our patrons over on patreon.com/managingmadrid. And a specific shout out to our $10 plus patrons, because if you pledge $10 or more, you get a specific shout out on the podcast, in addition to getting guaranteed responses to your questions. So shout out to the following $10 plus patrons: Brandon Alvarez, Willie Reed, Will Sousa, Wei Pering, Wamik Jamal, Tobias Arroyo Botcher, Tarek Goktas, Talib Salhab, Tahmid Kalam, Sujai Wani, Somanchu Singh, Sheikh Hatiri, Shamil Shabaz Sharapov, Sergio Arispe, Santos Solorzano, Samuli Justin, Samar Z, Said Mahad, Sai Mohan Sasi Kumar, Rodrigo Balmaceda, Rishi D, Phoenix, Peter Powell, Paulo Fierro, Patrick Udayafati, Oscar Barrera, Nico Laxo. Hi. And you get a shout out from my son Arlo, who has just walked in the room as well. Bye, I love you. Shout out to Nicholas Moeller, Nick Ribeiro, Mowgli, MJ Diego, Michael Zinberg, Marin Myrtle, Matthew Atkins, Martin Ridman, Magnus Lext, Logan Stahl, Leon Stavronakis, Kunal Tilakar, Crystal Glass, Kevin Rivera, Jose Cruz, John Fernandez, Jason Fitz, Ian Marley, Graham Gerard, Gary Kohut, Frederick Rantakiro, Frederick Sundros, Faisal Hamdan, S.A. Davisito, Eloy Enriquez, Edward Sossman, Daniel Williams, Con P, Christian Toft, Christian Acosta, Charles Williams, Brendan Powers, Brandon Stevens, Ashik Bashar, Arnab Mukherjee, Arman Gashi, Armando L, Antons Rudenko, Anirudh Singh, Ananya Kumar, Al, Azaz Hussain, Adrian Rios, Adar Zalikovic, Adam Dorsey, Bella Chow, Varun, Ramtin Maghrur, Fabian Moreno, and Daniel Smith. We love you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us, and Hala Madrid.